Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Atlanta Falcons 3-3, 0-2 on the road at Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-2, 1-2 at home at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. 77 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. We talk about the teams and the players and the pitchers that are predictable. And when they're predictable, we love them. They become our favorite teams and our favorite players because we can make money off of them. These are two very predictable teams. And I don't think anybody's more predictable than the Buccaneers, and I've fallen in love. I lost the +3.5 badly last week. I cashed the under 44, but while I was watching, I was like, oh, good God, we're going to be able to make money off of them. 77 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. Let's go into the line history here for this one. We're sitting with the Buccaneers at -2.5. It's juiced to -114. This got juiced up to -122. It's sitting right now at -114. And if we take a look around here, I guess it's pretty common. It's pretty common. I was thinking that there was some difference. No, everyone's sort of got that same situation here with the -2.5. But Will Hill doesn't have it juiced. The other books have it juiced. So let's get over to the cash here. Let's get into the total then for this one. See what we are dealing with for Falcons Bucks. It's at 38. This opened up at 40. It opened up at 40 at 7:47 p.m. 12 minutes later, it was juiced to -119. That's basically a 39. When it was 39 at 9:51 in the morning, it would within 2 hours it was -118. Now we're at 38. So it's a very low total here. Stimmy OG, what's happening? Ron Crawford looking at Bucks money line. And Sky Dragon says Tampa Bay -2.5 and under 38.5 are very easy bets, fading this Atlanta poverty offense. That makes perfect sense to me, what you're doing there. Perfect sense. 38% of the tickets, 93% of cash on the under. And then from a spread perspective, 75% of the tickets and 88% of cash on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Start with the Falcons. Coming off a very disappointing 24-16 loss at home versus Commanders. Outgained the Commanders 402, 193. 25 first downs compared to the Commanders 13. But just boneheaded decisions by Desmond Ridder cost the Falcons the game. Ridder was 28 for 47 for 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Drake London caught 9 for 125. Bijan Robinson ran 13 times for 37, caught 5 for 43. They held on to the ball for 36 minutes and 23 seconds. And they're averaging 16.5 points per game, 29th in the NFL because of Desmond Ridder. The defense was strong. They held the Commanders to what we talked about, 193 total yards, 13 first downs. They sacked Howell 5 times, hit him 10 times. Atlanta's 6th in the league, allowing touchdowns on just 43.75% of their red zone opportunities. I saw that the line moved heavily to the over in the UK game, but it made no sense to me. It made no sense when we're talking about how talented some of these red zone defenses are. It just made no sense whatsoever. And here Atlanta is really good in the red zone defensively. And, net yards per play, Falcons are plus 0.3. The Bucks are 23rd, minus 0.3. So you have the Falcons ranked 12th in the league, net yards per play, Bucks 23rd. But to me, Tampa will beat these football teams. And they'll lose to the elite teams. And they showed that with that 26 loss at home to the Lions. Baker 19 of 37 for 206 yards and a pick. Godwin caught 6 passes for 77 yards, and Mike Evans caught 4 for 49. As long as they are both healthy, then one of them can't be double teamed, because you can't expect a run game from the Bucks. Rachaad White's not going to give it to you. He did run 7 times for 26 yards, but as a team, they ran 16 times for 46 yards. They were just 2 of 12 on third down. It's because they can't run for first downs, on third or third long. They have no ability to do that. And so they have to pass the ball. And it's pretty easy to set up your secondary to cover Godwin and Evans and have extra guys in there. They went 0-2 in the red zone. They're 24th in the red zone, converting 42.86% of their opportunities. The D tried to keep them in at 3 sacks, held the Lions to 40 yards rushing, but they couldn't stop them through the air. The Lions had 19 first downs, 16 of them coming via passes. So that does concern me, because we know Ridder's going to air it out, but we also know that Ridder's being browbeaten by Arthur Smith nonstop. We all know that's been happening. So I have to imagine that Ridder's going to be a little more conservative this week, and they continue their excellent work in the red zone defensively. They're the number 1 team in the league. They allow TDs on 23.08% of their drives. They held the Lions to 0-2 in the red zone. So you have these two great red zone defenses. Who cares that the total so low that it is at 38? You had cornerback Jamal Dean and defensive lineman Kalijah Cansey back in the starting lineup. We saw Cansey all over the field. They did lose outside linebacker Anthony Nelson. He's been out with a concussion. He's not coming back. He was inactive last week. But they got healthier, and healthier. And I like everything that DG's on. Personally. So I want to move on the Bucs, and I want to move on this very low total, go under it, but I haven't done it yet. So let's see if I will gain more confidence or less with Mikey's breakdown. Take it away, Falcons Bucs.
Yeah, boy, you talk about the deep threat capability or getting into the red zone, and a couple of, I guess I'll call them potential injuries. There's a great follow that I have on this sports med analysis thing on Twitter rather, or X now, and they break down some of these guys pretty extensively, even things that don't make the injury report that they go through video analysis on. And, they got an injury factor for Baker Mayfield. It's not really a concern. It's his non-throwing hand injury. It's going to have a low impact on him. But on the other side of things, Mike Evans has a high re-injury risk going over his next 6 weeks is kind of the projection out there. So they expect him to be 90% effective going through week 7. Which scares me when you've got a deep ball threat like him. He's a vulture with targets out there on the offense. He's got over 9.5 targets on average a game this season. He is that deep ball threat. And when they're clicking, they are clicking. And speaking of not clicking though, you look at some of these situations here where the Falcons have turned the ball over 10 times this season. They're tied for 6th most in the NFL. That's certainly a factor that falls on Desmond Ridder. The Bucs have forced 10 turnovers this season. That ties them for 8th most in the NFL. The Falcons have scored only 2.8 points per game in the first quarter this season, 9th worst in the NFL. The Bucs have allowed 3 points per game in the first quarter this season, which is 9th best in the NFL. So you've got kind of 9th doesn't get me overly excited, but it's the top third of the league. And so you're kind of that top third, middle third, bottom third. I certainly would rather be in that top third than the bottom third. And so another factor that jumped out at the page for me was just what does Desmond Ridder do in the first half of games? Well, guess what? In his career, he's 0-10 against the spread in the first half in the NFL. The guy just can't get it done in the first half of the NFL. So it leads me to my play here with, couple this injury factor. It's a non-throwing hand injury, and you got the Evans factor. That scares me a little bit away from the full game because they might throttle back if they get enough of a lead, and that kind of opens the back door. There's also the factor that re-injury risk is vulnerable for Evans, and then what happens is that offense go into flux, and then you've got that non-throwing hand injury for Baker. You guys have heard me talk about Baker Mayfield on a number of live streams. I'm not a big fan of this guy. He finally looks like he's opening the playbook and taking his job seriously, but for me, Tampa Bay first half, -1.5. It's -105 is the best number I saw out there. And I wouldn't be surprised. You want to talk about a bold proclamation here? Look for Taylor Heineke in the second half of this game. So if you're a prop player, if you're looking for that quick edge to find something to make some money on, his passing yard prop, his rushing yard prop, very much both might be alive in the second half of this game, just simply because how much more can they get sick of Desmond Ridder? You can see the body language and the players on the Falcons on the sideline. They're tired of Desmond Ridder. They're tired of his shit. They don't want to play with this guy. They're stuck with him because of the investment and the commitment that Atlanta's made through them this season. But, I wouldn't be surprised to see that hook in the second half, especially if they're lying around this game in a 2-point situation, right? If they go into the halftime and it's, I don't know, let's say it's 10-7, right? I mean, surprisingly, Desmond Ridder would have to get a touchdown. That's probably not as practical. But let's say it's 6-0. Let's say neither team can score. They get 2 field goals and it's 6-0. Very much Tampa Bay or Atlanta feels they're alive in this game. And then out comes Ridder, in goes Heineke, and they try to go back out there and get that win in the second half. So lock me down for Tampa Bay first half -1.5. Get cute if you want. I would look for some Tyler Heineke props.
You have got it. Ecom Bo chilling here in Escazú, Costa Rica. Respect those days very, very much. Sweet, sweet Escazú, Costa Rica. I like it. Mikey M on the Bucs first half -1.5, -105. I want the Bucs and the under. Birdie and Wham Bam liking Atlanta. You know what? I think this is going to be very enjoyable, and I think the Buccaneers are very predictable, as are the Falcons, and we're just going to see a defense in the Bucs that can stop the Falcons in the red zone. We're going to see a Buccaneers offense that's going to struggle in the red zone. I mean, this to me, it's just going to be, we're going to be going field goals at a time here, yeah. And so. I like a ton of running. We know that especially with Arthur Smith being so angry with Ridder, So I like it. I like your first half.
Can you blame him for being angry, though? I mean, the guy makes bad decisions. He doesn't get the ball. He's not productive. He's not effective. That score last week, 24-16 against Washington, is misleading because they were down multiple scores that entire game, and they were able to sneak something in there in the back door at the end to make it look less disgusting than it actually was. I got so mad at watching that game, I had to flip it over at halftime to something else. And then, they beat Houston by 2 points. Okay, they still didn't cover the spread. They got beat down by Jacksonville. They only put up a touchdown. They got beat up by Detroit, only got 6 points. They haven't covered a spread. They're not covering first halves. They're probably not covering full games, but the Tyler Heineke factor for me is the wild card that keeps me off that full game.
I like it. I like where we're at in this one, and I will be betting it this evening. And, Birdie saying that there hasn't been, with all the money here on the Buccaneers at this point, 75% of the tickets, 87% of the cash. It did move to 3 at BetChris. There was a 10-cent move at one point at Pinnacle. It's come back a little bit. I can understand being a little nervous about it. I can. Birdie says Lions had no running backs. That's true, and we're going to get into that Lions game right now, but I don't fear Atlanta, and I love their defense. So, but let's roll on. I will be on the Bucs and the under. Mike's going to be on the Bucs first half -1.5, which might be better than the full game. I like your game script with Heineke coming in.